Hey everybody, this is Mike Bono from the North Andover Athletic Association, and you are listening to the Nightly News Podcast, the show that brings you inside the lines of North Andover High School athletics.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Nightly News Podcast. It's Ala Purdy, president of the North Andover Athletic Association. Flying solo today. Our usual host, main host, Mike Bono, is not here today, but we have a special guest, Carrie LaPierre, who is the girls' tennis coach for North Andover High School. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Good to have you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, what sports you played growing up, where you've coached?
I grew up on the South Shore in a little town called Halifax that nobody up here has ever heard of. Went to a high school called Silver Lake, regional school down there, and I threw shot put and played tennis in high school. Growing up, I played soccer, softball, did all the usual stuff. So,
did you play in college?
this is always such a good story to tell. I went to Holy Cross and I tried out freshman and sophomore years and was the last person cut both years.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. But it's a good story to tell kids.
That's right.
You rebound.
So tell us a little bit about last season. How did last season go?
Last season was great. We had some new players come in that I didn't know were coming. So
always nice.
That actually led our lineup. In tennis, your first two best players have to play first singles and second singles. And that was our newbies. So that was great news for me.
Were they freshmen or were they transfers or both?
One was a freshman and one just didn't play freshman year for some reason.
Okay.
So it was great to have them, great additions, and bolstered the team.
So for those that aren't familiar with high school tennis, I know, so a match goes, you do first singles, second singles, third singles, and then
singles.
Three doubles, or do you
Two doubles.
Two doubles.
Two
okay.
doubles, yes.
So one and two singles have to be your best players.
Yes.
Third can be whoever you want.
Yes.
And then same with the doubles. The first doubles is your best pair.
First
usually?
doubles is your best doubles pair.
Yeah. Now, when I played in high school, I think you could play in two if we only had three courts, so you couldn't play 5 matches at a time. So
right.
You could play third singles and first doubles or second doubles.
We can't do that.
Okay.
No.
Who are your leaders? Who are your captains?
Captains this year we have 4, and it's kind of a big year because we've been captainless for a few years. So it was a really big deal. Zoe Levin. It's good that I know their names,
sure?
isn't it? Ava Cello,
okay.
And I'm really great with their names. But they know this. They tease me
Sure.
in practice, so it's not new. Leah Tenenbaum and Skylar Holland.
Okay. What grades are they?
All seniors.
All seniors.
All
okay.
seniors.
Who's your 1 and 2, or do you guys battle it out every week?
We are actually starting challenge matches tomorrow, so it's a big day. Everybody's nervous. It's hard to tell. I think we have a close battle between a few players for the singles. So
okay.
I'm curious. I'm always curious to see how it's going to go.
Sure. How do you pick your captains? I know some teams do it by vote among the players.
Yep.
Some teams it's coach-driven. How do you do it?
Over the years, I've done it all different ways. I've had all different rules. And honestly, this year, these kids are so great. I've kind of broken all my rules of usually having 2 captains because our team is very small.
Sure.
And it has to usually be a varsity player. I had non-varsity, I just say, you girls are so great. It's just you 4, done. We're not voting. We're just doing it.
Good. Good to hear.
So, yeah, they're such good kids.
MVC, everybody has a girls team, right?
Yes.
Pretty much. So how's the schedule go? Do you play 4 or 5 teams twice and then a couple once?
Yes. We play, because we're in the upper division,
Right.
so we play Andover twice, Central twice, Chelmsford twice. So we have a pretty tough schedule.
Sure. Who's the top teams in the league?
Andover.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Pretty much unbeatable.
Sure. How did we do against them last year?
We count games when we play them.
Okay.
So that's
Gotcha.
where we try to improve.
Gotcha.
Because they're so talented.
Sure. Who do you have for out of league?
This year we're taking on Linfield. We used to be in the Cal many years ago, and
Yep.
I've coached that long, so I know some of the Cal coaches. And there's a legend in Linfield, Coach Stone.
Okay.
So we've always played matches against each other since I came to the NBC.
Sure.
And then I put Amesbury on the schedule and North Reading this year.
Okay. Where are they at? Are they Division II? Are they with you guys? Are they above you?
They're pretty much with us. Linfield is definitely above.
Okay.
They'll be a tough match for us,
Yep.
but the other 2 comparable.
How does it work for states and playoffs? I know there's like a team aspect, but then there's an individual. Is there an individual aspect as well?
They ditched individual.
Okay.
With COVID, they ditched it, and they haven't brought it back.
Okay.
Like that was always a fun event to take kids to and see what everybody else could do.
Sure.
But it's kind of sad to see it go.
Do you think it'll ever come back? Is there any traction toward that?
I haven't heard anything, and nobody's really seems to be bringing it up.
Really?
So
Interesting, because it's kind of like how golf does it, right? I'm guessing it's similar. You know, you have your team, but then you can go for the individual state championship.
Exactly.
Right?
I think the way they restructured states in general kind of got in the way of that.
Right.
So
that's too bad.
Maybe they're working on a new plan.
Yeah. Next question. So, and we always ask some version of this question depending on the sport. How do things go with the kids who are competing, you know, outside of high school? So tennis can kind of be a year-round sport because you can play it indoors and there's a lot of places to play.
Yep.
So do you have a lot of kids that are playing year-round and playing like on any kind of junior circuit or anything like that?
Not junior circuit level. I have a bunch at Willows, a bunch of newer kids starting to play at Cedardale, which is great because now that they're getting more traction.
Right.
We used
With
to have
the fire,
a lot,
right?
Right.
Yeah.
We, you know, a lot of people used to play there, and then one of my former players coaches there now, so it's kind of a nice thing to see.
Sure.
And some play at Spark in Andover.
Where's that? Where's that one?
That's in Andover. That's the. It was one of the old club, not a tennis club, but it was an old
fitness club.
Gym, yeah,
Okay.
and I don't remember which one. But so some of them play, and some of them will play on teams, like they have.
Yeah.
The Willows will have teams and stuff, and some play on that. I feel like interest with that is kind of dwindling.
Really?
I think tennis interest is dwindling in general.
It ebbs and flows. Tennis is one of those funny sports where, you know, that when I was growing up in the 80s, I played 4 years at Lawrence High, and it was pretty, you know, we had 15, 18 kids on the team, which was pretty good,
Good.
For an inner city school. You know,
Very good.
Girls had the same amount probably, but then, you know, it kind of died down after that, and then it picked up again, and so now you're thinking it's
well, North Andover's always been fortunate.
Sure.
I've
A lot of
always
clubs.
had kids
Right.
coming in, and I just feel like I always say lacrosse was sort of the death of tennis because once they started the lacrosse teams, and yes, I coached before they were doing that, you got a lot more athletes looking for
Right.
another sport to play.
Right.
You know, so I feel like that really dwindles my
Sure.
group of people.
So strategy-wise, how do you I mean, every coach has their kind of way they like to do things, but I'm guessing there's an element of tailoring your strategy to the kids' skills. Can you talk to that a little bit? Or?
Sure. I kind of try to tailor everything, whether it's practice and what kids are doing on a court, to what skills they're working on and what skill level they are, because literally I'm working with kids who have never hit a ball all the way to kids who can compete with Andover.
Right.
So it's tough to manage at one practice all at the same time. So I like to, you guys are going to go on this court and do this. You guys are going to go on this court and do this. And, you know, this skill needs work. You know, you had trouble with this in the match. Let's practice it at practice and run through it. And, you know, I kind of try to bounce around to all the courts.
Sure.
And get to everyone.
Now, does it ever does a situation ever happen where you have a club kid who's playing on another team that they really feel like this is their strength and this is how they want to deal with this particular, you know, aspect of the game, but you're feeling like that's not going to get you where you need to go?
With the girls, I don't get a lot of that.
Okay.
Like I say, a lot of them have been new in past, and I'm talking 20 years ago.
Sure.
They were coming in with quite a bit more experience in a lot of cases. Now, a lot of them I've recruited from the 8th grade.
Gotcha.
And, you know.
So they're yours. They're yours to mold.
A lot of them are really mine.
Right.
And so it's really just trying to see how they can play, what they can do, because they're learning very quickly. And they have to be able to step on a court and play a match so fast with not a lot of training in a lot of cases.
Sure. Who are the kids that you said you have a former student that now coaches at Cedardale?
Yes.
Right. Who are your past? Anyone in college? Any recent college players?
I don't really tend to have a lot of players go on to play in college. And honest to goodness, my best player I think ever was I walked into a team 20-something years ago to a number one who was just so gifted.
Sure.
And she went to BU and she didn't want to play. She was tired of it. And I really think she was one of mine that really would have had a good shot. I did have one a number of years ago. One of my number ones, Rachel Mueller, played at Merrimack.
Do you have a full squad? Do you have a freshman, JV, and varsity? Do you have enough kids for that this year?
We basically have, the way it rolls in tennis is we have varsity and non-varsity.
Yep.
So we just end up calling the non-varsity JV.
Sure.
Because we only have about 18 kids on the team, 18 to 20. And it's all we're all together.
Sure. Do they all get to play on match day?
Most match days, it honestly depends on what other teams have.
Yep.
And when you're playing schools like Lawrence and Lowell, they may not have as many
numbers,
kids.
yep.
So what we try to do is get the JV kids out. They'll play one set against a team from the others, and if they don't, I just throw them out against ours.
Sure. Yeah, got to do what you got to do to get the reps.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the hardest thing to teach a new, a good athlete, you know,
Yep.
someone who can, hit the ball, but what's the hardest thing to get them to learn or to be proficient at?
I think serving is always the toughest. It just takes a lot of coordination. You're moving in a lot of different directions.
Sure, right.
And timing, that definitely takes, to get the serve, to get actual service motion,
Right.
and not just the pop-over serve.
Right. There's no, because I know this came up when we talked to the boys tennis coach. There's nothing youth in the town,
No,
town-based. There's
no.
obviously clubs. Has there ever been any talk, booster club or anything?
I cross my fingers. I would support it wholeheartedly. Quite frankly, I don't want to run one
Right.
because I teach all year.
It's a lot of work.
And I need a break.
Sure.
But I would support anybody who wanted to take that on, because I had a parent many years ago who wanted to, and then it just kind of died
Yeah.
in the progression. And they did have a youth program, like through youth services or whatever,
Okay.
they do a couple week clinic.
Kind of thing, yeah.
And I don't know how well attended
Right.
it is, but no, we definitely need to draw interest somehow. Like track does it so well at the middle school.
Right.
DJ does a beautiful job, and those guys
Yep.
have so much interest, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I don't see any towns around that have anything really like any kind of in-town youth
No.
for like 10 and up.
I mean, I think they may have like lessons in the summer,
Right.
like summer
Right,
programs.
yeah.
But or more substantial summer programs than just a clinic. But I think the cool thing, when I taught on the Cape for a year, and in the middle school, each middle school actually had a tennis team.
Nice.
And they traveled around the Cape and played each other.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that was such a cool thing,
Right.
because they really developed
Sure.
over that time.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like what the track does. It's mainly middle
exactly.
school. They have the middle schools from I've seen Methuen, Andover, Haverhill,
Right.
Lawrence, some Lawrence kids in there too. So
Well,
yeah.
it makes a huge difference with the results.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah. Right. Exactly. So, who is in recent history, maybe the player that you've coached that's come the furthest from freshman year showing up and being like, I don't know where this is going to go, to senior year, hey, you're a really good player?
Honestly, there's been a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't want to offend anybody by naming names
Sure.
either, but there have been a number of them, and like even on the team right now, we giggle about some of them that they didn't know anything when they walked out.
Right.
And now, oh look, I can actually hit the ball. Oh,
Right.
and there was one I have now, Leah, who's one of the captains. I had her in 8th grade, and she's like, I play tennis, so I hounded her all year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you're going to play next year. And then she emailed me over the summer. She's like, I don't know if I want to play. I'm like, you're playing. She's like, I'm really not any good. And, a lot of them feel that way, and it's just you work hard, and you get into it, and you improve.
Right. One of the aspects of tennis that I bet you most people listening that don't know anything about high school tennis don't know, that's the kids call their own game.
Yes.
Any issues with that?
It's not bad. Something's always going to come up.
Right.
Again, this is going back 20 years. This is the one big incident that we all remember. It was in the Cal, and we were playing Masco. And the rule is, if they're having so much, there's a protocol.
Right.
If your player comes to you at the fence and says, oh, they're cheating, you kind of watch for a little while. Then if they kind of look like they're cheating, you have a conversation with the other coach who's supposed to talk to their player. If it gets worse, it doesn't get resolved, the coaches go on the court. Both coaches go on the court and call lines.
Okay.
And this girl in the match with Masco, who was their number one, very talented, she was arguing with both of us as coaches, calling the
Her own
lines.
coach as well?
Yes.
Interesting.
So it was something.
I can imagine.
Like, we had never experienced anything like that before. No, but there are some awkward conversations you have with kids.
And people make, and one of the things I remember, you could make a legitimate mistake. It's a fast game, things going on, and then now does that player you're playing against do the same thing, making a mistake that's maybe not as honest?
Right. With girls, it tends to be done on purpose.
Okay.
They're willing the ball out. That's kind of what's happening. They're hoping so hard it's out. They don't want to make a bad call, but they're seeing it. You know, because I've had some awkward conversations with players about, you know, you're going to sit if you don't start making better line calls. You know, this is an issue with you, and you don't want that reputation in the league.
Right.
So it's a hard conversation, but with most kids, it hits home, and they're good about it.
It definitely puts tennis players, there's a different experience. You know, no other kid in sports, maybe golf, I'm guessing, if they're, you know, probably golf to a degree. But
self-report.
Yeah, you know, I mean, if you're swimming, if you're playing basketball, someone else tells you when you broke the rules or did something wrong, you know, and it's. I think it's a good, it was good for me because you do learn, you know, people do make mistakes, and I think you learn from it, and it's a skill and experience that, you know, helps you down the road in life because there's not always referees.
Well, exactly, and it's good for the girls to experience on the court in a match when I'm not standing right there and can't help them right away either, because they have to work their way through it, and some of them can't handle their emotions in that situation, and they'll start tanking. So it's really something that they have to think through.
Sure. So what are you looking to this season? What's your outlook? What's your hope? What's a good season? If we talk to 3 months from now, what's a good season? A
good season, winning record, beating most of the MVC. I would say probably not Andover and Chelmsford. I'd like to give them a run for their money. Central, I think we'll be close with. I think we should have a decent season. We have almost everybody returning varsity from last year.
Great.
So this is our year.
Good. That's good news. Good.
Because then I graduate for the 4 players. So
that starts again.
That's tough.
Anybody coming up? I know you're at the middle school teaching. So anybody promising coming up that you can think of?
Not that I've found.
Okay. They're out there.
But I always walk around and twist arms, or you see a good athlete. It was funny because I mentioned to you I heard like Caitlin Bush doing the one for hockey, and I had her in 8th grade, and she was playing soccer outside with the boys at like one afternoon. We took them out, and I watched. She was playing net. And she was stopping everything, and the boys were drilling, you know. And I literally went up to her, like, "You have to play tennis for me." And of course, she didn't. But you know, she comes around as we call her our team mascot here and there. But you know, you just try to find an athlete out there who might want to pick it up.
Right, and you know, tennis is funny because you could be the fastest kid going.
Yep.
Doesn't mean you have the hand-eye. Doesn't mean you can learn the serve. But, you know, most of the time you can work with a good athlete.
You know, you try to pull a few volleyball players because they got some of the motions for the serve. And
good. Anything else you'd like to share about the team or your hopes? Or
not that I can think of. There is such a nice bunch of kids. I love getting there every day. They know this. I tell them how much I love them all the time. I mean, it really is a highlight for me. I've done it for so long, and I just still love it.
Great. That's good to hear. Yeah, we've had great experiences having the coaches in. I think you're our last coach of the spring that we're interviewing, so I want to thank you. So, again, thanks to North Andover girls tennis coach Carrie LaPierre. This is the Nightly News Podcast. We'll see you next time.